we've got a couple elections going on right now. Well, one just finished out in Alberta there, and well, the other one that's not here. It's over there in England. They're going to have an election. I don't know if they actually talk like that, but anyway. And it's going to be interesting to see how that one turns out. I guess people in England right now and the UK in general are, having some problems over there. But don't be envious of us, because we're going to have them too. Don't worry. You don't have to be envious of us, because, Let's talk about the Albertan election. Guys, what did you do? What did you do? Oh boy, you guys gotta get. Oh, you're gonna learn the hard way. I'm thinking it was a protest vote. It had to. Nobody informed could have voted the NDP. Nobody informed. First off, who is the NDP? This is what Albertans probably don't realize. Now, the lady, I've listened to her talk a bit. I didn't really follow the Alberta election too much. I didn't really think. I thought it was going to be a minority government at best with the Progressive Conservatives. But I didn't expect a sweep. I really didn't expect a sweep. But that's what happens when political, that's politics. I mean, that's politics. Problem is, this is a 4-year screw up. Now, let me just, I know there's some people say, yeah, but the economy and this, and they put all the eggs in one basket. Yes, you would be correct. But the hit came from, this is why I'm more nationalist than globalist, is because the hit came from Saudi Arabia. Okay, yeah, I agree. Alberta needs to diversify its economy big time. It was too dependent on oil for the past 30, 40 years. But it was a good gravy train while it lasted, so you can't really knock that. But the thing is that, and it's like, I'm already seeing the disasters on the wall, just like 2 days after the election, or a day after the election. It's like, it already is coming off as they don't know what to do. They're in a tough bind no matter who would win. But the thing is that we got to start off. Well, yes, this I forget the name of the new premier, but she's there. I'm for Albertans and stuff. No, you're under Thomas Mulcair rule. If you think this lady is going to be able to run Alberta as an Albertan, you're wrong. She's going to have to run it as a piece, a progressive, which progressive is today's new communist. Now, the NDP is socialist communist. I'm not saying that to be insulting. I'm telling you that's what they are. That's what their political views are. They're socialist communists. When they started up, they called themselves what the NDP because they couldn't call themselves communist sympathizers. It was illegal at the time, and yet the unofficial communist parties of Canada were in heavy support of the NDP. And of course, this goes back a long time. Now people say, "Oh, times have changed." Not really. I mean, it's not what they say; it's what they do. Now you're saying, how would you know this? I'm in Quebec. Okay, if you think things are expensive in Alberta now, okay, yeah, the taxes here, they're going up on everything. Like, you wouldn't believe the taxes. On top of that, Alberta is going to get itself a nice healthy dose of carbon tax. That's probably one of the first things they're going to put in. Now, the lady, she probably sold it very well on, we're going to tax the rich, and that's what they said. They're going to put an extra 2% on all the major industry, which I'm not really super opposed to that, per se. However, when your provincial economy just took a $70 billion hit or $7 billion hit or whatever it was, you don't raise taxes. That's when you lower taxes, get business flowing, velocity of money. Again, the left-wing people never went to school. They don't understand 2 + 2 don't make 5. Kevin O'Leary, the guy from the Dragons Den, some people like him, some people hate him. He is a kind of a smug guy and stuff, but I do believe this guy is rich for a reason, because he's not stupid. And he's like, this is a disaster. Number one, they're going to be chasing business outside the province. Keystone Pipeline, dead in the water now. Why? Because the main player, Alberta, where the Keystone Pipeline was supposed to start from, well, you think Thomas Mulcair is going to let that go? Now, she's already said, oh, we don't support that pipeline. We support other pipelines like the North Gateway Pipeline. The other one goes into BC, and then there's one going to be coming here to Quebec. Oh, they support those, but not the other one. Why? Because the other one's a political hot potato. They can't do it. And that's what the opposition has to go on. However, that said, these pipelines I doubt will get built. Why? Again, she is a premier. She's not going to trump the party leader. The party leader is going to tell her what to do. Why? That's federal. Federal, provincial. Federal trumps provincial. Right? So if you think there's going to be the energy sector in Alberta is now going to be turned into a $15 minimum wage social program of schools and stuff like that. All the stuff that Alison Redford was talking about, which she was definitely not a conservative. 2 plus 2 don't make 5, and if you think the taxes were going to go up, high under the PC, progressive but conservative government, you're wrong. You're going to be living Quebec standards, and that's going to be very expensive for you, like crazy expensive. And the jobs are going to drop off like rocks. As soon as yes, the big oil rigs, they pay like 60, 80 bucks an hour, 100 bucks, 300 bucks an hour for some people. The average line worker is probably making $15 to $18 an hour. Yes, that's the big money. The fast food shops, they're not going to be making $15 an hour. They're going to close. The mom and pop shops that can't afford $15 an hour, they're going to close. So now you've even you can say, yes, you can slag and the progressive conservatives for putting all their eggs in one basket. No doubt about that. You can't argue that. Yes, they did a stupid thing, just like only investing in oil. They needed to invest in other things. Problem is what they're talking about investing in, and it's the same thing, Alison Redford, schools and hospitals and stuff like that, which is good for the people if you have the revenue. Problem is here, again, we're going to get all these promises that can't be delivered. Again, same thing here in Quebec. The taxes are going up on everything. Every single thing is going up. The provincial tax is going up 2%. Again, mind you, the debt we have here, Alberta doesn't have that debt yet. But so it is starting from a place where it could take a 4-year bitch slap to the face and then straighten up, fly right, and get back on track again. I don't know how well the Wild Rose would be. I think they're a little more on the left on a lot of issues, but they would have probably been better than the NDP for sure. So with that, the thing is that this is what people don't realize. It's almost identical to what happened here in Quebec. So Thomas Mulcair pretty much sweeps the province, the Orange Crush as they called it, in the federal election. Next thing you know, even my riding is an NDP, trust me. Ask me if taxes have went down here. Everybody I talk to, I go to the municipal hall almost every day, do uploads and stuff like that, and they're always saying the same thing. They say, "Holy geez, it jumped a lot this year," and 4 years of this. Why? The province is broke. Number one, fishing license went from $19 to like $30. Hunting for deer used to be about $48, $80. Moose, $80 used to be about $50. Bear, $80. Now mind you, they've hired a few people and stuff like that, but still, you get the idea. Everything is going up. New taxes and tariffs on everything. We have a carbon tax on top of that here. It's just tax after tax. Oh, it's just a little more here. It's just a little. We're taxed out. We're taxed out. Now we only handled, forget how many months of Pauline Mauvois under the Parti Québécois, Bloc Québécois, Parti Québécois. They're the same party. Action Democratic. They're all the same party. It's just lefter versions of the separatist parties. That's all it is. And there's 5 versions of La CAQ. They're the right wing version of the Bloc Québécois. You know what I mean? So one's right wing separatist. You got Parti Québécois would be, Bloc Québécois would be like center separatist. Parti Québécois is like Marxist separatist. Action Democratic, they're like communist student separatists. I forget the other one, but anyway, you get the idea. It's like 5 different flavors of Parti Québécois, Bloc Québécois. But we only tolerated like a year and a half of that. Why? She killed industry. She just, progressively killed everything. Yeah, okay, great. Child daycare and all this stuff. It sounds great, but you got to be able to pay for it. I don't care about the social programs themselves. That's never my issue. My issue is I'm fiscally conservative, meaning you have to balance your budget. You can't pay for more things than you have money for. 2 plus 2 does not equal 5. And when you're in a massive provincial recession, again, fortunately, they don't have the debt we have here in Quebec. Ontario suffered the same thing in the last election. It was kind of, everybody's scrambling for the lifeboat because, it just, the people right now are completely, they're completely fed up with the Liberals in Ontario. But the problem is because of that kind of trap you into voting a certain way, everybody that works in the government, which the majority of government workers are in Ontario, we got a lot of government workers, and spin-off businesses that rely on government, is so big in Ontario that they couldn't vote for Tim Hudak, who was, so-called conservative. because they'd lose their jobs. But it doesn't matter. They're going to lose their jobs anyway. The question is, do you lose your job through controlled austerity, a controlled landing, okay, and slowly balance your budget? Or do you wait till the whole thing just goes awry on you, which that's what they're doing in Ontario. That's what's also going to happen in Quebec. Again, all these social programs, like hospital wait times, they're starting to charge people. If you want to come and sit and wait in the hospital, they're starting to charge people. Less and less is getting, you're paying more, but you're getting less and less. This is the problem with the left wing. That's the main problem, is they're just fiscally not conservative. They cannot add a budget. They can't live within their means. And they do everything based upon pretty much emotion. Now, this lady in Alberta, she does sound sensible. Problem is she doesn't realize maybe that she is not going to have the reign over her province that she thinks she does. If it goes against the federal, anything that Thomas Mulcair wants to do, if you think Harper's an authoritarian, you got to really listen to how Mulcair talks. He sometimes talks a good talk. He is an intelligent man. I'll give him that. But he is a control freak beyond, well, most communists are, right? So right now the NDP is socialist communist. They're more socialist than communist. But they would work their way to that. And all Thomas Mulcair talks about is the beautiful UN, United Nations. So the more PC we get, or the more, not political correct, but the more NDP we get, the closer we are to giving our country over to the United Nations. Keep that in mind, which is global communism, Agenda 21 stuff. That's not paranoia or it's not conspiracy theory. Just listen to what they say. It's what they want. Now that said, oh well, she's different, but it's not up to her though. That's the thing. It's not going to be her running the show. And this is where your industry in Alberta dies. Why? Because Alberta you got to break eggs to make an omelet, right? And the people don't like the broken eggs. They don't like the tar sands, oil sands, whichever you want to go by. They don't like that stuff. They like the money from it. They like the benefit from it. They like the transfer payments. But at some point, the transfer payments are going to stop. And when they do, that's when Quebec and Ontario. That's why Quebec and Ontario all of a sudden, at the same time, say, oh, we're going to balance our budget here in Quebec in 6 years. I guess some politicians were comedians before they got into it. And Ontario, we're going to do it in a 10-year time. They can't. They're insolvent. You got to start firing people. It is what it is. That's what happens when government takes over everything. In Ontario, everything is so heavily regulated, you got to deregulate. Now, does it mean you deregulate the dangerous stuff? No, but there's certain things you can get rid of. There's so many grants and stuff like that you can cut before you start cutting jobs. Government is always an either or. You could have this or you could have that. You could have both, but you have to split the money between the two. Problem is we're not talking about two programs. We're talking about, there's so much programs on the books that are being paid for that we don't even know. This is why I like the idea of let the people choose. Direct democracy, kind of like Switzerland. Okay, they want to bring in this program. Okay, let the people choose. Maybe they choose good, maybe they choose bad. Maybe they choose completely on irrational, emotional reasons. They choose one thing. But let the people choose. This idea we elect somebody for 4 years to think for us is a bad idea. And I think Alberta, what they're going to realize is that, and it's already starting, they've got, the NDP recruits what I call the communist student. Okay, now the communist student, I refer to it all, I'm not calling all students communists. The communist student is the one that goes out, you saw them in Occupy Wall Street, you see them, you could also call them social justice warriors, that type of thing. Some of them, yes, are very good-hearted and mean well, but they're blind on the issue. They're protesting for the sake of protesting. Government, leave me alone, but give me this, give me that, because everything's a human right. Those type of people. They don't understand responsibility, they don't understand fiscal conservative of, I'm fiscally conservative, meaning you can't live outside your means. You can't spend more money than you make. Socially, I'm more libertarian, which is probably the best of both worlds. A balanced budget and people that leave you alone. Country identity-wise, I'm nationalist. Protect the borders at all cost. Heavy screening to know who's coming in to the country. Once they're in here, leave them be. Make sure there's work for people before you bring them in at $250,000 a year. The NDP wants to bring in $500,000 a year, which is even worse. We don't have the economy to do that. But we have aging demographic. That's fine. We're always talking about lowering our carbon footprint. Here's the best way to do it. Just let the populations balance naturally. Bring in some immigration, sure, but keep the bar high. And Canada's probably got one of the best immigration policies on the planet. I would up things a bit, and it's the numbers I have a problem with. We just don't have the jobs to support the numbers. And, it'll show. So anyway, getting back to the main issue is here in Quebec, when we won the NDP, or unfortunately, because people probably didn't know what the hell the NDP was. It's okay. We'll just check off the orange box. People don't. They're politically, not informed, right? So, and they didn't. A lot of people here in Quebec won't vote for the Bloc anymore, and this is the French majority. The French majority does not vote for Bloc. Just so you know, that's a bygone era. Hopefully, never to return. With Palado on the scene, who knows? But they voted for the NDP. Why? Because they don't want to vote for the Conservatives yet. But they don't really have a choice if they want to save the province in the long run. We're broke, right? So we get the NDP as the Orange Crush because it was just an insolvent. Who pick a person? I didn't vote for them, but we got what we got. This used to be conservative riding, now it isn't. So the very night they're going around saying, "Oh my God, we won! Now what do we do?" And they've got all these what I call communist students, people fresh, still in college, some of them even still in high school, now basically elected officials, no politic experience whatsoever. And you got one girl, for example, she's like, "Oh, I won! Oh, that's great, but I'm on my way to go on a 2-week vacation." Yeah, and then a bunch of them quit. These are not mature people. And this is typical of left-wing movements. You get the young typically stays left. Why? Because they're brainwashed left right from the get-go, particularly here in Quebec. The school system tries to brainwash the sovereigntist movement into all the French schools. It doesn't work. I've talked to enough people who say, "Yeah, when I was going to French school, they, in the French schools, they're like, you demand your sovereignty." In the English schools, you should be more tolerant, And this is coming from not one person. You got to understand, a lot of people do slag on Quebecers, as separatists, but it's only 23% is a big minority of the country, or not country, but you get the idea of the province. But most people don't want that. Most French people that can't even speak a word of English are proud Canadians. Yeah, they might identify as Quebec first, fine, but they're still proud Canadians. And that's the majority of us. 53% of the province is bilingual. Only a handful is French. Only a handful is English only. So, Quebec is the way the media plays it. They try to play it that there's this big charge to separate, but there isn't. There isn't. Maybe 40 years ago. Who knows? And with this Palado guy, who knows what happens? But anyway, getting back to the thing. Now Alberta is going to suffer what we suffered, and we are still currently suffering. Again, every year the taxes go up here. They don't go down under NDP government, and yet the books never get balanced because they just take the money and blow it on something else rather than pay things off, right? So we get all these people with no experience running there are, okay, I got to be fair. Yes, there are some NDP candidates that, the one in our riding, I haven't talked to her. You can't get a hold of her, it seems like most of the time when I call. But it's yes, she's got a few years under her belt and stuff like that. Okay, fair enough. But those are a handful. The rest are all just kind of, people cutting their teeth. Oh, we're going to go for the youth and stuff like that. And I get that. I get that PC kind of mentality of trying to get the youth interested in politics. But it's a long way from running a province. Now, in Alberta, what's the first thing I see? Oh, they got this one girl. She's and I'm not bashing people that do marijuana and stuff like that, but she's got a finger on the Canadian flag, and she's got marijuana shirts and stuff like that on her Facebook and stuff like that. People are like, we elected this person, and then another go, well, it'd be a nice try. I know I'm up to it. I'm a yoga instructor. Okay, you're gonna be, if you're doing yoga to keep the stress low, you're gonna be doing lots of yoga if you're getting into politics, And then of course the other ones, I won. Well, okay, I was kind of hoping that the other person would win. Are you kidding me? You're probably like, oh no, I'm taking this on. I got daggers in my eyes. I'm ready to kill. Let's get her done. No. So they're gonna have a lot of inexperienced people jumping ship, usually early on, and a whole bunch of vacant ridings. That's kind of what happened here. Not a lot of them jump ship, but a few of them jump ship. So you got people in the past 4 years, well, who's your representative? Nobody. It's like comedy and tragedy at the same time. I laugh, I cry. What do you do? But yeah, Alberta is going to take a massive, massive hit on this one. It's going to cost them dearly. And once those taxes come, they never leave. I've never seen taxes go down in Quebec. I've never. I'm 42, 43, however old I am. I've never seen taxes go down. Okay? And 23 is a Bloc Québécois, 23 years of Bloc Québécois destroyed the province pretty much. It made it a have-not province. But you have to understand, Quebec's a little different. It's being kept as a have-not province to get transfer payments and also to make the claim for sovereignty. But it doesn't need to be. This is like probably one of the most resource-rich spots in the world. We've got, I mean, uranium all over the ground. We got oil, like massive gas and oil. We got a few trees. We got water. I mean, Quebec, for example, has one of the lowest carbon emissions in the world. Why? Because our industry is hydro. Again, people nuclear this, no, hydro, it's clean. Okay, it's about a few fish get killed going through the turbines. Yes, that's bad, but they can set up salmon spawning areas and stuff like that. Divert them, whatever. You can do that. We have the technology. We can do this. That's like North Quebec where the salmon is, though. That'd be fun to catch them down here, but yeah. So we do have industry. In fact, if you're living in New York or even Pennsylvania, I think you're getting power from us. Like we send a lot of hydro to Ontario, not so much, but to the States. Like most of our hydro is exported to the States. And so we can be a half province, but when 23 years of the Bloc Québécois, you just pretty much knock the crap out of the province. Then, of course, we get the Liberals in, and the Liberals don't really rock the boat. They don't really go against the Parti Québécois because they're just trying to maintain, federalism. They're not really trying to win anybody, and they don't really do anything. And plus, they're left, so they just spend and spend and spend and misspend. And then we're also number one in corruption, just so you know. We got a lot of firsts here. We have a low carbon footprint. And we're number one in corruption politics-wise, for contracts and stuff like that. The Charbonneau Commission. Yes, it took them like 8 years to figure out, yeah, we're corrupt. And who did they arrest? Nobody. We just, so they spent all this money to figure out we're corrupt. I guess that was the next scam. I don't know. I laugh. I cry. So that's what's going to happen over in Alberta. The oil industry has now been killed. Now, Saudi Arabia is to blame for that oil hit, again, trying to destabilize the oil from Iran and Russia, that thing. And now look what's happening to Saudi Arabia. They've got a Houthi uprising, from Iran and backing them. Because, again, that's a different, if you follow my channel, you kind of have a good idea what's going on there. But that's the whole reason why I'm against globalism. This is the biggest complaint I have about the Harper government, is that they're globalist, not nationalist. If they put the effort into nationalism and build a strong economy from within, a strong dollar may be bad for exports. Yes, I agree. But your country should not be reliant on exports and imports. And in imports, what you lose on the exports, you will make up on the imports. We have raw resources. Let's start building stuff. Oh, that's right. We can't undercut the labor in China and India. Well, how about we put tariffs on them because they don't comply to the same standards we do and make it fair? We used to do that. So we could do this stuff, and plus we could have higher emissions. There's no reason why we should be buying stuff from China. We should be buying good quality stuff. I'm not saying that we should do any business with them, but set up the standard. Do it with everybody. A strong dollar is not a bad thing if you set your economy up for it. Think about this. Okay, let's say $1 here is worth $80 American, or something like that. Just think of what. Yeah, I'm gonna import my. Can I have 3 Ferraris for next Wednesday? Just for something to do. I just want one to hang on the wall. Oh, I don't have a wall built enough? Okay, well, I'll, build a wall, And the wall costs you like $8 Canadian. 90,000 American. You know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff. So, that's what they don't want you to have. They don't want you to have that kind of real strong dollar wealth. Because the elitists see it as a bad thing, but to the common person, it would actually be a very good thing. You wouldn't, like everything would become so cheap, maybe, not to export, but to import. I mean, it would be super cheap. Plus you're giving jobs over there as well. And more importantly, you have good jobs here. But we don't have that. And with the NDP, they scare away jobs. Again, Quebec isn't booming under an NDP government. We've had them, since the last federal election. It's almost 4 years ago, 3 years and something. So think about that. And when you're thinking about that, say, hey, wait a minute. What were the taxes in Quebec before and what are they now? Ouch. In Alberta, they want to hit you. They want to hit you bad. They want to hit you really, really bad. So a protest vote is going to cost you big. Now, maybe people have a referendum after. Look in BC. They had a referendum to get rid of the GST. How's that going? And they won. They won the referendum. How's that working? It's still there, isn't it? Yeah, oh, well, we can't get rid of it. We can bring it in overnight, but we can't get rid of it. Carbon tax. Again, Quebec, Ontario, and BC trying to streamline with California's. And I mean, California's a disaster right now. You know, no offense from anybody in California, but when my provincial government looks more stable than yours, we got problems. We got big problems. And Alberta's, they're going to kill off all the industry there. Just the way the lady's talking, you know, okay, we're going to have this pipeline, but not the other pipelines. And then as soon as there's protest, you have to understand, these people cater to the socialists. They cater to, the native groups are going to basically screw themselves here. The native groups will come out and say, no pipelines anywhere. And the NDP will say, no, we're not going to do that. And then all of a sudden the native groups say, well, where did all our funding go? The Harper government has been better to the native groups than any other prime minister in history. Why? Because he's bribing them. That's why he's spending so much time up north. So say, hey, look, we'll give you guys the jobs. We don't care. We'll give you the jobs. Just let us get the resource. You know, let's get us the gas and oil. That's what they do. And, you know, it doesn't matter where you really fall on the fence on it. It's what they're doing. You know, now the native groups, it doesn't matter how much you give them. They're always going to complain. But the thing is that at the end of the day, they're going to get less under the NDP. You know, they're going to get a lot more, we care for you and we like you and stuff like that. But when it comes down to hard-earned cash, they're going to get more from the Conservatives than they're ever going to get. Like, they might get a few nice bribes, but again, at what cost? You know, they got to rob, government always has to rob Peter to pay Paul, meaning they're going to have to tax the snotballs out of Albertans to pay, you know, the welfare programs. Like, the welfare programs of Alberta are going to be a shock to the system. Yeah, you're going to have all these new schools and all that, but your taxes are going to be ridiculously high. You're not going to see it overnight maybe, but you will see it. And then, of course, the services fall from there. Now, does Alberta need to invest in infrastructure and stuff like that? Yeah, all the provinces do. This is what drives me nuts about the whole, oh, we got to expand. How about you maintain what you have? You know, that type of thing. Same here, oh, we're going to build a new highway over here, a new highway over there. Never mind building new ones. There's craters in the freaking old ones. You know, like, I mean, craters. Fire trucks fall through them. Like, I'm not making this up. I mean, almost twice, 3 times a year, either in Gatineau, Hull, or Aylmer, a fire truck will fall through the street. Yeah, fix the damn potholes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay, I saw a nice little kind of a like funny thing there, where they're showing like 2 cars. A drunk driver in the United States goes like this, driving down the road. Okay, a sober driver drives straight down the road. A drunk driver in Quebec goes straight. A sober driver goes around the potholes. Why do you think the best race car drivers come from Montreal? I mean, you ever drive there? That's craziness. It's like, never mind the one way coming at you from the other way. It's the freaking potholes. Yeah, it's like Mario Andretti, all he was a chain-smoking French guy. I just damn traffic, I've got to get around there, you know. It's like, oh, it's a race car? Oh, okay, but whatever, I see. Okay, I wait. Smoke a cigarette there. That's where again, I'm not kidding. That's where they come from. You know. But anyway, yeah, so Alberta, I think you've bitten off way more than you can chew without understanding truly who they voted for. Again, the lady talks a nice talk, but she doesn't even have a plan. Like, there's no plan. That's the first thing that should have been the indicator. There's no plan. She doesn't, yeah, she's got an insolvent, when something insolvent, you have to at least come out with a plan. This unfortunately, is the thing around the world where governments do not represent the people anywhere, because things are becoming insolvent. And when Alberta becomes a have-not province, that leaves, I think, maybe Saskatchewan, that might be a have province. Transfer payments can only last, well, that kind of welfare can only go so far. So what happens when Quebec and Ontario start having to give payments back to Alberta because its economy's trashed? Yeah, here's what's happening in Ontario. When they didn't vote for Tim Hudak, what they did is it's the pay me now, pay me later scenario. The longer you wait, the worse it's going to be. Okay, here's what's happening. The Ontario government, okay, is completely. It's like the Greece Spain of Canada, okay, and that kind of thing. They're completely insolvent, and yet their government is still getting bigger. Now, the problem is that they should have voted for Tim Hudak, who would have eventually balanced the budget, but that would have meant government workers would have lost their jobs. Not all of them, but enough to balance the budget. So think of it like a lifeboat in the water. And all the government employees jumped on this one lifeboat. Well, it's going to sink. You know, the thing is they could have sacrificed a few for the many. You know, and now they're going to just sacrifice the many when the bills are finally. That's it. You have to pay that, or they just, it becomes insolvent. And the problem is when you have that kind of government mule mentality of I'm entitled to everything because I'm so special. It's a welfare mentality. You know, government is welfare. I'm not saying that to be insulting. It is welfare. It cannot exist without the private sector. Problem is when your private sector gets so small that governments, you know, you could tax a government employee 100% and still can't pay for his own wages. You know what I mean? Like it's the average government employee is like $140,000 a year. There's over 100,000 or 200,000 government employees in Ontario that make over 100,000 a year. Exactly what, you know, and most of this is in the hydro sector and in the medical sector. You got to start questioning things. You know, if the average government employees makes 37%, between 17 and 37% more than the private sector counterpart in Canada. Can you not see the writing on the wall? It doesn't matter if you go out there and protest. My union's going to get me this. My union's going to get no. Your union's just going to work you out of a job. That's all. That's what unions do. They eventually demand too much. So either people have to take a massive pay cut to keep everybody working, or it all collapses. And the problem is when you start talking pay cuts, people freak out. But that's the thing. Pay me now, pay me later. Now Alberta is doing it the hard way. I don't. They could have waited till later. I mean, they had little debt. Now they're going to rack up massive amounts of debt. Again, you just use Quebec as, again, we're not a blooming province right here. You know, we got massive debt, and yes, we're under the Liberals again because after, you know, like 23 years of the Bloc Québécois was bad. Okay, a year and a half of the Parti Québécois was twice as bad as the Bloc Québécois. It took the Bloc Québécois 23 years to get it that bad. It only took the Parti Québécois a year and a half. That's craziness. Like soups with two names crazy. What do you do? You know, what do you do? So I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. But again, I'm not getting a big vote of confidence watching, you know, the kind of after election kind of, well, you got a lot of, and you get that in all political parties. But, you know, if you look at the Conservative Party, and I'm not giving them the big thumbs up. Those were, I mean, seasoned people. They, you know, they at least knew their industry. It doesn't mean they were all good at it. It just means, you know. And again, the hit came to Alberta from Saudi Arabia. That's what people have to understand. This is where, yes, this truly shows, yes, Alberta should diversify its economy. But after a 40-year run, I mean, it's like, you know, it just tells me people don't understand what actually happened, which means they voted out of panic or they voted out of you know, voted out of just kind of thinking that these guys are going to be better. The new boss is going to be worse than the old boss. I'm telling you from experience. The Liberals, when they were running the province here, okay, it was bad. You know, it was bad. But the NDP is much worse. It's much worse. It's much more expensive. Regulation on top of regulations on top of regulations, which they have to regulate. Now, one thing, and this, I'll just end on this, is that, we saw the sweep in Ontario for the Liberals. We saw the sweep now in Alberta for the NDP. Will this be a problem for Harper and the Conservatives, or they're socialist fascists, they're not really conservative, but if it's their policies. I go by policies, not by what they say they are. We don't have any conservative parties in Canada. They're all left-wing. Point, government's got bigger under the Harper government, and it's, you know, global trade everywhere. It's when you have government and the business sector in bed together, you have fascism, and that's pretty much what we have. Every country's like that, not just us. So socialist fascist is what we are. But the thing is will this be a threat to the, you know, in 2015 for the election, later this year? We're doing our election early, which I don't believe in that. I think the election should be every 4 years on a given date. Nobody can move that unless the people have a referendum or, you know, call for an early election. The political parties should not be able to, you know, set their elections when it's favorable. But that said, will it be favorable? I have a feeling this might be the backfire on the NDP. I was saying that don't be surprised when the NDP take power in the next election. I think the best thing we could probably hope for is a minority government with the Conservatives. But then again, if people see the disaster of Alberta, I mean, they were talking it was going to take 10 years to get them out of the hole anyway. You know, a 4-month hit in the oil sector takes 10 years to get out of the hole. So that means this time, by election time next year, the NDP is going to have a lot of problems in Alberta, particularly with the policies. Either A, they're going to have to backtrack on their policies and do what the progressive Conservatives were doing, which will alienate their base that voted for them, and that will reflect badly on Moncare, but Moncare won't do that. He's going to say, no, you're going to do what you're going to follow the party line. This man does more whip votes in Parliament than anybody. Whip vote has been whatever he votes, you vote. You know what I mean? All the parties do it, but he does it quite a bit. So if you think the provincial leader, you know, is going to have trump the federal, no, and I have a hint, just kind of an idea that if you listen to how Thomas Mulcair talks about Alberta, again, they want to put it to you, God help you. I don't know. And the thing is it was a large election turnout in the Alberta. So I'm hoping it was just a protest vote. But, get the petition ready, because you're going to need, in probably a year and a half, you're probably going to want to go back to the polls and get them out of here. We'll take what we had. It's like, mercy. Oh, sorry. You have to pay a tax now to say mercy. So just so you know, you're going to get what we got over here. Sorry. Suckers. Don't worry, we did it to ourselves. So, yeah. Anyway, I guess I'll leave it at that. So, if you like this kind of content, please consider making a donation to the channel. Thank you very much to everybody who has. Rate, subscribe, share, comment, like. Be true to yourself, be true to others. Always do the right thing. And have yourselves a great day, eh? Tax. Oh, the taxes. G'day, hi, and welcome. Well, looks like we've got a couple elections going on right now. Well, one just finished out in Alberta there. And, the other one that's not here. It's over there in England. They're going to have an election. I don't know if they actually talk like that, but anyway. And it's going to be interesting to see how that one turns out. I guess people in England right now and the UK in general are, having some problems over there. But don't be envious of us, because we're going to have them too. Don't worry. You don't have to be envious of us, because, Let's talk about the Albertan election. Guys, what did you do? What did you do? Oh boy, you guys gonna get. Oh, you're gonna learn the hard way. I'm thinking it was a protest vote. Nobody informed could have voted the NDP. Nobody informed. First off, who is the NDP? This is what Albertans probably don't realize. Now, the lady, I've listened to her talk a bit. I didn't really follow the Alberta election too much. I didn't really think. I thought it was going to be a minority government at best with the Progressive Conservatives. But I didn't expect a sweep. I really didn't expect a sweep. But that's what happens when political, that's politics. I mean, that's politics. Problem is, this is a 4-year screw up. Now, let me just, I know there's some people say, yeah, but the economy and this, and they put all the eggs in one basket. Yes, you would be correct. But the hit came from, this is why I'm more nationalist than globalist, is because the hit came from Saudi Arabia. Okay, yeah, I agree. Alberta needs to diversify its economy big time. It was too dependent on oil for the past 30, 40 years. But it was a good gravy train while it lasted, so you can't really knock that. But the thing is that, and it's like, I'm already seeing the disasters on the wall, just like 2 days after the election or a day after the election. It's like, it already is coming off as they don't know what to do. They're in a tough bind no matter who would win. But the thing is that we got to start off, well, yes, this, I forget the name of the new premier, but, she's there, I'm for Albertans and stuff. No, you're under Thomas Mulcair rule. If you think this lady is going to be able to run Alberta as an Albertan, you're wrong. She's going to have to run it as a progressive, which progressive is today's new communist. Now, the NDP is socialist communist. I'm not saying that to be insulting. I'm telling you that's what they are. That's what their political views are. They're socialist communists. When they started up, they called themselves what the NDP because they couldn't call themselves communist sympathizers. It was illegal at the time, and yet the unofficial communist parties of Canada were in heavy support of the NDP. And of course, this goes back a long time now. People say, "Oh, times have changed." Not really. I mean, it's not what they say; it's what they do. Now, you're saying, how would you know this? I'm in Quebec. Okay, if you think things are expensive in Alberta now, okay, yeah, the taxes here, they're going up on everything. Like, you wouldn't believe the taxes. On top of that, Alberta is going to get itself a nice healthy dose of carbon tax. That's probably one of the first things they're going to put in. Now, the lady, she probably sold it very well on, we're going to tax the rich, and that's what they said. They're going to put an extra 2% on all the major industry, which I'm not really super opposed to that. per se. However, when your economy, your provincial economy just took a $70 billion hit or $7 billion hit or whatever it was, you don't raise taxes. That's when you lower taxes, get business flowing, velocity of money. Again, the left-wing people never went to school. They don't understand 2 plus 2 don't make 5. Kevin O'Leary, the guy from the Dragons Den, some people like him, some people hate him. He is a kind of a smug guy and stuff like that, but I do believe this guy is rich for a reason, because he's not stupid. And he's like, this is a disaster. You know, number one, they're going to be chasing business outside the province. Keystone Pipeline, dead in the water now. Why? Because the main player, Alberta, where the Keystone Pipeline was supposed to start from, well, you think Thomas Moncaire is going to let that go? Now, she's already said, oh, we don't support that pipeline. We support other pipelines like the North Gateway Pipeline. The other one goes into BC, and then there's one going to be coming here to Quebec. Oh, they support those, but not the other one. Why? Because the other one's a political hot potato. They can't do it. And that's what the opposition has to go on. However, that said, these pipelines, I doubt, will get built. Why? Again, she is a premier. She's not going to trump the party leader. The party leader is going to tell her what to do. Why? That's federal, provincial, federal trumps provincial, right? So, if you think there's going to be the energy sector in Alberta is now going to be turned into a $15 minimum wage social program of schools and stuff like all the stuff that Alison Redford was talking about, which she was